all of our departments that service us, like our police, our ambulance, our firefighters. And that it is, I understand employees are hard to find. I've been in a company where the turnover was terrific, and it's very expensive. So if we put a moratorium on the building, we can give everybody a break. Not only the people here tonight, but all the departments, and give them time to find good people so there's not so much turnover. And give them time to dig up really good people, interview them, get them trained. Because if they leave, that's expensive. I know that from a company standpoint. And that way you can help the citizens get what they're looking for, slow down the growth, get all the services back up to speed. Then maybe we can move ahead, but maybe more slowly, and help to catch up. Let's see. As far as the traffic, I'd like to talk about the traffic in the square. Walking down the square like it's down by Swaney Swift's and in that area, you can't even have a conversation with a person beside you. It's so loud. The traffic's buzzing by, there are big trucks. Maybe we need to just have any trucks over a certain size or weight go around. It's just so noisy that it's not pleasant to walk with somebody and have a talk. And I think it should be, because the square, I moved here from Hendersonville 10 years ago, and I love the small town feel. It's going away. It's just going away. Anyway, what else did I have on my little list? And I agree with everything that the people here have said for the past few weeks. I had 2 deer in my backyard. I look up at my dining room table, and there's 2 deer. I have a partially fenced backyard. I'm not near any woods. And I don't know how they get out. I opened my back door, and I just scared them down into the corner. So I thought, leave them alone. And they did go away. I don't know where they went, but I would be willing to kind of bet that they came from somewhere where they'd been displaced out of their habitat. And we are doing that to animals. And I agree that we need to slow down because it does affect everyone. Thank you.
My name is Sandra Cohen. I live at 304 University Drive here in Gallatin. I want to stop the train, okay? I want to stop the train. I don't know how old everyone on this city council is, but 37 years ago, First Lady Nancy Reagan came up with a very good slogan to stop addiction. 3 simple words: just say no. Back then, the addiction problem was drugs. Today in Gallatin, the problem is overgrowth. Only months ago, I spoke in one of these meetings begging you not to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. And now I find it necessary to use those words again. I've lived in more countries, states, cities, and neighborhoods than I care to count. And of all of those, Gallatin has actually been the best. So congratulations so far. But I have watched as the powers that be continue to try to be everything to every developer that wants to cover every square foot of our city with asphalt, concrete, wood, brick, and mortar. Truth be known, I've worked for many years marketing new building and development, but the downside of that was watching how much excess can ruin the character of a town or a city. I have learned the lesson: more is not better. I've heard the comments that this proposed development will not raise city taxes. Sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? Trust me, it's not. Nothing in this world is free. More development requires more schools, teachers, firemen, and police. All the people and the things, at the least, will raise our county taxes. Calling it a city tax or calling it a county tax does not matter. A tax is a tax. Be it city or county, a tax on the people is money taken from them, many of whom then won't have it to spend for their or their family's necessities. I am an old-timer, but still relatively new to Gallatin. I'm only in my 5th year here, so some might see me as part of the problem. But I live in a home that had already been here for years before I arrived. There are still many of those available. Annexation is not necessary, and it adds to our infrastructure burden and sprawl, while we have so much underutilized infrastructure already in place. Consider the aged strip malls on 31E, vacancies on South Water and other areas. Those properties could be turned into apartments or condos with retail on the ground floor. Plus, they would put hundreds of people within walking distance to downtown. All of the infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, sidewalks, is already there. Capitalize on that. Thousands of cities and towns have successfully renewed underperforming and blighted areas of their cities. Shouldn't we be focusing on redeveloping our blighted and dated areas instead of adding to the sprawl? People come and people go. Additional land for development is not necessary. Gallatin is not required to be everything to everybody. And I beg you to stop this sprawl train before it goes out of control. Be happy and satisfied with the city that you now have. It has so much quality of life to offer. Please stop throwing that away. And please listen to Mrs. Reagan and just say no. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen. Hi, guys. Ruth Fennell, 1049 Blue Jay Way, Gallatin, Tennessee. I think this group knows pretty much how I feel about continued annexation, explosive growth, out-of-control traffic. Once again, I want to direct your attention to the number of people that are sitting in this audience because they care. They're trying to send a message that we need to slow down. We need to really give consideration into how we can gather control and convince the citizens that we have control over what we're doing, because they're feeling the impacts of the traffic and the things that they don't like, and they're trying to send you a clear message. So I'm going to ask you, please pay attention to these people that are out here trying to get your attention. You know, Gallatin is not isolated. So in addition to annexation growth and the things that I've talked about before, including deer, including trees, and those kinds of things, I also want to make sure that we know that there's a lot of other things going on in the world and that Gallatin needs to be prepared for those things. Recently, there was an ad in the Gallatin News about the power grid of Gallatin. And I don't know how many of you saw that article, but it was talking about how in their assessment that our power grid was vulnerable. Now, in the last week or two, we've also had a spy balloon go over that could have been carrying an electromagnetic pulse. We don't know, but if it had been, it would have decimated electrical grids across our country. Is Gallatin prepared for that? Do we have a plan? Do we have parts that are protected from EMPs? Those types of things. So it's not just Gallatin in and of itself and our growth that we have to think about and deal with. We've got COVID still, we've got sudden deaths, we've got inflation hitting record numbers, we've got food processing plants being destroyed. Last year there were 145 different locations that manufacture food that were damaged. What is that doing to our food supply chain? So there were also attacks on power grids. There were 25 actual physical attacks according to the Department of Energy, including one case of sabotage. So are we prepared for that? And we may be, but are we communicating that to the citizens and just letting them know what we're doing and how we're thinking ahead and planning? In the article, the author talked about thinking like a criminal so you don't get ripped off. So one of the challenges of leadership of any organization is to think like the bad guys. What are the worst case scenarios? Are we prepared? What would somebody with really devious, evil intentions have in mind for us? Have we thought about that? I'm hoping we have. Now, there's also an environmental disaster that's going on in Palatine, Ohio. I don't know how many of you know about that because the media has been very, very silent on it. But there were 5 rail cars that were carrying 1 million pounds of vinyl chloride that derailed. This was a little town in Ohio with 5,000 people. And it started leaking. Well, vinyl chloride is a toxic chemical. But when it burns, it becomes hydrogen chloride. And then when it mixes with moisture, it becomes hydrochloric acid. So we have a train going right through our town, right next to the Taj Mahal. County admin building, literally, right next to it. Just a couple blocks from our building, right here. So if we were to have something happen like that, would we be prepared? What is our plan? And again, we may be on top of all of this, but let's just be proactive as much as we can and let people know. If something like the situation in Ohio happened, here's what we would want to do. Right now, that hydrochloric acid, because they decided to blow it up rather than transport it away, is contaminating the Ohio River and its tributaries. There are videos of dead fish, dead frogs, dead birds, animals, pets are going outside and dying from all of this toxic cloud. There's a map that I've seen on Facebook, and if it's on Facebook, it must be true, of course. But it shows that cloud covering and coming into Tennessee. Are we prepared for that? Are we measuring our air quality, our water quality? So I'm going to just thank you guys again for the time that it takes to be part of the council. I appreciate it. I'm just asking you to take Gallatin into account and then also the other things that could possibly adversely impact Gallatin. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak this evening under public recognition? Okay, seeing no one, I'll declare public recognition closed. Now we'll move now to mayor's comments. Just a few events to share with you. Want everyone to remember that next Monday, the 20th, is President's Day. Most of the city offices will be closed on that day. There's a hike for heart health at Bledsoe Creek State Park. If you don't get to check out Bledsoe Creek often, it's a good opportunity. It happens at noon. On the 21st, there's a Mardi Gras event out at Charter Senior Living. They welcome the public to many of their events, and they're always fun, and the residents there certainly appreciate the attendance. On that Friday, which is the 24th, is the Good Morning Gallatin, previously known as the Government Relations Meeting hosted by the Gallatin Chamber. The guests next Friday will be Sumner County Mayor John Isbell. Also, the state legislators are typically there, and they'll update you on legislation that may be pending at the state level. The inaugural Sneaker Ball is happening on the 25th at the Gallatin Shalom Zone. And then on March 1st is the Coffee and Connect with James Fenton of the Gallatin Economic Development Agency happening at Bistro 562 at Southwater Manor. The Stay Warm Shelter does happen each Friday, just for your information. Do have just one thing I want to mention to you all. We had a 20-year employee with the Gallatin Fire Department retire last week. He went on to a different career, well, not a different career, still in fire service, but an administrative position in Union City. And so our thanks, appreciation, and congratulations to Keith Robinson. We were talking a lot last week with the firefighters. We can't provide everybody their desirable career path, but we can help prepare them to find great paths. And so we're happy for Mr. Robinson and look forward to keeping up with him in his new role. Also, I do want this body to know before we move into the regular agenda that before we go into other business, this council will be dismissing for an executive session at the conclusion of the full agenda. So with that, I will move on to the regular agenda. And item number 1 is ordinance. Did I miss something? Did I miss something? Oh. I said something more. Item number 1 is ordinance 02302-15. Chief Beeman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening. The purpose of this agenda item is to request permission to appropriate $7,575.40 from insurance monies recovered for fire suppression operations at the new courthouse fire on August 7, 2022.
Motion to send on.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fennell, second by Councilman Hayes. Any discussion, questions? All right, all in favor of sending it on for a vote, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It does pass unanimously. Item 2 is ordinance 02302-16. Mr. McCord.
Bill McCord, City Planner. This is a request for an ordinance to appropriate $3,500 to construct a wall between the Planning Department and the Building or Codes Department. Right now, we have half walls there, and we get a lot of interference, if you will, from a lot of walk-in traffic, and so it's disturbing to various staff members. So talked with Chuck about it, and he's all in favor of building this wall. It's not very expensive. The quotes came from Lyndon's office, and Rachel has looked this over as well. So asking for use of Project Bullhawk funds to fund it.
Motion by Councilman Fan, second by Councilman Hayes. For those of you who don't know, he referenced Lyndon. That's Lyndon Satterfield. He is our facilities maintenance, Mr. MacGyver. So he does a great job for us. So, okay, a motion and a second. Any questions, conversation, all in favor? Please say aye. Opposed, say no. It will move on to council meeting. Item number 3 is ordinance 02302-17. Mr. McCord again.
This next item is a request for an amended preliminary master development plan for Goodview Commons. Goodview Commons is part of the Goodview Properties Master Development Plan. The property that they are wanting to amend is located on the corner of Goodview Way and Greenlee Boulevard, just north of the CSX railroad tracks. The applicant is proposing to change the uses that were previously approved on the property, and there's been a number of them, including a hotel, fast food restaurant, a drive-in fast food restaurant, convenience store, and so it's changed concepts over the years. So what the applicant now wants to do, the property owner, is to develop a car wash on the northerly portion, which is this area here, corner, and a hotel on the southwesterly portion of the property. As I mentioned, a hotel was previously approved for the site. We do have a rendering in your agenda package of what that hotel will look like. It'll obviously, there's the car wash as a sketch of the drawing there, and that would be a colorized drawing of what this car wash, drive-through car wash would look like. Previously, these are the various changes, and you can see where a fast food restaurant, a convenience store was. In an earlier rendition of it, it changed a little bit over the years. Simply a hotel on both portions of the property at one time, and they've subdivided the lot to 2 lots. So this is conceptual architecture for the hotel. This rendering does not necessarily match the footprint of the plan that was provided for, and I'll go back to that. That one's good right there. So the Planning Commission did review this and suggested that with their recommendation that the hotel be at least 70 rooms.
Would you
And,
say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Pardon?
The hotel, what?
Be at least 70 rooms in size. So that would require them to, at the FMDP stage, to come in and properly identify the footprint that they would be able to accommodate that size of a hotel. Right now, the hotel footprint was a 40-room hotel. Planning Commission did review this change, and that the reason it is before you is because they voted to make this a major amendment, and they are recommending approval with the conditions included in the draft ordinance.
Motion to move it to council.
What was the vote that came out of approval?
It was all, let's see, 4-1.
I second the motion.
motion by Councilwoman George, a second by Councilman Juvance, opening the floor for discussion. I remember listening to that meeting, it was before I was back on the commission, and two things, I mean, I don't really like the car wash that close to being, a great entrance onto a road that's going to be really fabulous as it grows and develops. But it seems like this is what I fear. They were talking about a 40-room hotel, but because that's what would fit on that piece of land, because they switched them. And so then they made the caveat that it'd be 70 rooms. I don't know how a 70-room hotel can fit on that lot, and so I wonder what's going to happen when that can't happen. So, I mean, I guess.
They'll be
we'll
back here for an amendment.
Yeah, they'll be back here for an amendment. And so, I mean, I almost wish that the planning commission had recommended that they keep the hotel on the original parcel, and they want to put the car wash instead of the fast food restaurant, put it on the other one, but that's me.
Kind of my comment is, I was going to ask why they want 70 instead of 40 for the planning, but, so it sounds like they're switching where it is, but I agree with you about the car wash, too.
Well, originally, the hotel was on the larger parcel, and then they switched it to the smaller one. And what they proposed was a 40-unit hotel, which is really small. And the planning commission said they wanted at least a 70-room. And I don't recall where that, well, I think to be like a good hotel with a good flag, if you will, the quality in the area.
To entice a good company to come in.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm speculating, so I'm not sure. Councilman Fennell, did you wish to be recognized?
I was gonna ask the same question of
Okay.
what
Okay.
Linda was.
Councilman Juvance?
It's a four-story hotel, 40 rooms. Look to me kind of small for a four-story. I leave half of my life in hotel rooms, and generally when they're four-story, it's more than 40. So was a change made during the planning, or is there somebody from Andy?
The applicant
Here.
is here that can answer questions that may have arisen since the planning commission meeting.
Will we get Andy there to answer the?
Pascal, what was you asking about being on the four-story? What was you meaning about that?
No, I'm kind of surprised that the four-story will have only 40 rooms.
But
So,
it's 70.
no, they say the planning commission put 70 rooms as a condition, but on the package, it said 40 rooms.
That-
So,
But remember, what they're showing is just conceptual architecture.
Yeah.
It's not an actual plan, it's just the architecture. And Mr. McCord made the comment that that didn't necessarily fit the footprint that's there. So I don't know if 4 stories is what they're ultimately looking for or not.
but anybody mind if we ask Andy Leaf question about that?
No, it's appropriate in a work session, absolutely.
Andy?
Mr. Lee?
Andy Leith, Greenlee Design, representing the owner of the property. Thank you. And you all have appropriate questions to ask, and hopefully we can answer them. We have been working on the drawing because of what Planning Commission had asked for, 70-room hotel. And also, the owner of the property is actively negotiating right now. Pass those around. This is what I'm passing around right now is a site layout that shows a larger footprint that can accommodate at least 70 rooms. As I stated, the owner, Mr. Barnfield, is willing to sacrifice space on that corner lot for the hotel to be enlarged. And he is talking right now with someone that has a flag that they're negotiating. It's all I know at this point, but they are negotiating the hotel. And he is negotiating with the car wash owner as well. So if we're able to accomplish this major amendment to the PMDP, then the car wash would definitely be expedited, and the hotel would be a step closer. I can't make any promises on that because they're talking. But I have been instructed to make sure that at least a 70-room hotel can fit the property and possibly more. When we first submitted the plan, the objective of the plan was just to get the use of a car wash added. And then with all the questions Planning Commission had, we went back and tried to fit a hotel in really quick. And then we went back and tried to refine that a little bit more. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you've got pertaining to the project or the whys, if I can.
Question, any questions, Sean?
Good. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Anyone else? All right, we have a motion and a second to move it forward to council. Any